We are here, we are live, and I am so excited because today is the first of many of these conversations to come. So let's back up a little bit. Marie Forleo says everything is figureoutable. She believes this so much that she wrote a book titled Everything is Figureoutable, which the made up word of everything being figureoutable. I love that. And it is something that I think is so true. If you've listened to me before or worked with me or seen me speak, you know that I talk about all behavior can change. And because that's my own language, I sometimes forget my own behavior being something that can change. And so last week, I ended up in a situation where Marie's voice came into my head over and over again saying everything is figureoutable. So for over a year now, I have been presenting every Wednesday at this national meeting, talking with leadership that works with this amazing population of kids. And I have loved being a speaker there so much because it is impactful and it's meaningful and it delights me because I get to bring tools and tricks and strategies and exercises and wisdom to shed light for people. Sometimes it's a reminder, sometimes it's something new, and sometimes it is just that breath of fresh air that they needed. And last week that ended. Not the meeting, but my participation. My contract came to an end and it was over. And I felt so sad about it and like there was this hole that I was missing because I wasn't going to be part of this meeting anymore. And Marie's voice came in saying, everything is figureoutable. And I said, well, then how do I figure this out? What am I missing? How can I not just end that work, but how can this still be meaningful? What can I bring in that will shift how I'm feeling? And I thought, wow, I have this amazing population of people that already come and listen and trust and spend time with me who want to learn from me. To every single one of my subscribers, I say thank you for entrusting me with your time and your thoughts, and that I am a voice that may bring some wisdom into your family, home experience in the world. So I thought, what if I came here, chatted with you every Wednesday? And while it might be a different group of people than I was chatting with before, or while it may be a different group of people every single week, it still gives me a place to come and share thoughts and ideas and answer questions and pick up topics that are really meaningful. So, yes, everything is figureoutable. So, I figured it out. I figured out a problem that felt like a really big, hard problem for me. And I share this idea with you because potentially you have really big hard problems that you need ideas for. So I wanted to talk today about how to problem solve and how to do that well and how to create more possibilities in order for you to not feel sad and lonely and confused, but be able to move forward. So, the first piece is that I want to talk about. There are three different parts that we're going to talk about today. One is judgment and how that makes it hard to move. Two is discerning what we can change and what we should be problem solving versus what we can accept. And then three, actual tools to help problem solve, because we have to understand the concept, but I am all about realistic action based changes. So I'm going to give you some action steps to change in order to create a situation where you can problem solve any problem. It will help in your parenting, it will help in your life, it will help in your world. So let's talk about judgment, because judgment is very normal, very human. We all have it. So when something hard happens, when something unexpected happens, when something bad happens, when I realized how quickly I was going to be ending my work with that other group, I had a lot of feelings. I had a lot of judgment. I had a lot of opinions about what I wanted or didn't want, or how I would have done it differently. That's human. That's normal. We all do that. It is what we do with that information. It is the next step that matters. So my next step was I let myself for a day be really upset, be really angry, have all of my feelings. And then I said, okay, now I have to start problem solving. because we don't want to deny our feelings. It's okay. You get to feel however you feel. It's what we do with them. It's when we let them stop us or when we let them stop our kids that we just kind of spiral in this bad, yucky place that doesn't do anything. So after we have our feelings, then we have to move forward. We have to take the next step. We have to move out of our judgment. And we can do that by asking, if we are saying in our head, this is horrible, this stinks, I would do it differently, this is bad, well, then we're stuck. And you might hear that language from your kids. This isn't fair. I don't want to. You're mean. You ever hear that from anyone? Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it's your own head. Sometimes it's from your kids. Now, that may all be true, but at some point, those have to change to what can I change? What can we do differently? Why am I feeling this way? And when we start asking questions, a super interesting thing happens in our brain. Our brain starts problem solving. When we say statements, our brain assumes those facts are real. So when I said, I'm so sad about this, my brain said, oh, that just is. You're just sad. Done. Full stop. But when I started questioning of where else can I find an outlet? Where else can I find an opportunity? Where else can I share the way I've been sharing that has been so impactful and meaningful? I thought, oh, I have a YouTube channel. I could speak here. Would that work? And those questions led me to problem solving solutions, which led me here with you right now, which is super exciting. If I stayed in that place of judgment and making statements in my own head about my experience, it wouldn't have helped. So with your kids, when they're making statements, you can't change their words, but you can, rather than agreeing or disagreeing with them, you can start to ask them questions. I wonder what will make you feel better. Do you need a hug? I wonder if we read a book together, if that would help. I'm going to go try something. Problem solving is all about experimentation. There's not one right answer. We have to figure it out. We have to try things. Not everything is going to be the first idea is the best idea and we're done. We sometimes have to try a bunch of things and see what ultimately feels really good. Teach your kids to experiment that way. It also might be a great solution to perfectionism when we start experimenting. Something to think about. Okay, section 2 of this video, what we can control and what we can't. You may have heard of the serenity prayer. It does often start with God, and I take that piece out and ask for my own grace. Now, you get to do it however it fits. Now, I believe that if you have faith and whatever that is beautiful if it makes you a better person. So if it feels good for you to start this statement with, God grant me the grace, please do so. If that is not something that helps you or feels good to you, then don't. I usually start it with, may I have the grace, because I want to feel like I have control as opposed to handing it over to somebody else. Whatever your practice is, follow that. So may I have the grace to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things I cannot accept, and to know the difference between the two. I'm going to say it again in case you haven't heard this before. And if you had, maybe you need a reminder. May I have the grace to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things I cannot accept, and to know the difference between the two. It is really important. And this is something to teach your kids, even if you don't teach them those phrases, teach them that language, those concepts, this idea. There are things in this world that I cannot change. There are things in this world that are not within my control. And stressing about them, having anxiety over them, fearing over them, worrying about them doesn't actually help me. And so stopping and accepting and saying, okay, that is not something. I can like it. I cannot like it. I can be angry about it. I can have my feelings, but then I have to keep moving forward and say, that is what it is. I can't change that. But then I look at what piece of this can I change? What can I experiment? What can I play with? What will feel good for me to make an impact? What small corner of that big thing that I have no control over do I have control over? Maybe it's how I think about it. Maybe it's how I talk about it. Maybe it is contributing locally as opposed to nationally. Maybe it is sharing it with my family, my thoughts on it. I don't know. Depends on what the particular topic is, but there are lots of things that we are trying to figure out that we are control of and things that we are not in control of. If you are having big behavior challenges with your kids, there are certain things that you can't control because unless you muzzle your child, which I would never suggest you do, you can't stop them from yelling. But you can control the dynamic and the relationship you have them to make it less likely that that's what they're going to do in the future. There are lots of things that we have control. They are not always what we think they are. So discernment is powerful. What pieces can you control? What pieces are not in your control and that you have to let go of? It allows us to move through the world in with so much more peace and calm and clarity when we can distinguish those two things. So talk to your kids when they're having a hard time about something in school, about a friend. What are those pieces that we can't do anything about? And that's unfortunate, but true. And here are the things that we can change. Here are the pieces we can impact. That is where the magic is. So, when we look at those pieces that we do have control over, how do we problem solve them? How do we address them? Well, I am so glad you asked because I have 5 things that we can do to address them. Now, the very first one I might have already talked about, a little sneaky there, is ask questions versus then making statements. When we are problem solving, when we are facing the fact that all behavior can change, when we are thinking that everything is figure outable, we have to start asking ourselves questions and looking for the answers. If we make statements and assumptions about what is and think that they are static facts, we're not going to get anywhere. So ask questions, wonder, be curious. It is so impactful for change. That's 1. 2, embrace uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with this live. My hope is that people come and watch, that people start coming live on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern time, but I don't know. It's uncertain. When I started doing that meeting over a year ago, I didn't know how I'd be received, but there ended up being really good feedback. I hope there's really good feedback here, but I don't know. So I have to embrace that uncertainty and try and see what happens. And if this builds momentum and it feels helpful to people, then I'll keep doing it. Hopefully, you will send me questions that you want answers to or topics that you want to discuss that are helpful so that I know this is impactful. Hopefully, you will put in the chat that you are with me, that this is making sense, that you're following along, that you're grateful, because then I know you're here. Embrace the uncertainty. Okay, 3, we look for information gaps. So where is there a gap between what I currently know and where I want to go and say they had a fight with one of their friends? You don't know all the information because you don't know what actually happened with the other friend. Or when your kid comes home and is having a hard time with homework, maybe you don't know how to do that homework. And that's an information gap for both you and your child. Or maybe there are just pieces of information that are missing, that feel hard about the situation, and you have filled in with assumptions that aren't necessarily true. For example, I assume that everyone has the best of intentions even if they're not executed. I just assume that. But I do think we live in a world where a lot of people assume the opposite. They assume people are out to get them or hurt them, and that harms the problem solving situation. Now, whether that's true or not true, we could debate for days, but what is going to help you problem solve the best when you're having a hard time in a situation? The other information gap is we often want to know why our kids are doing what they're doing, and we don't always know that. Our kids don't always know that. I don't know why I do some of the behavior I do. I just know that I did it and whether I want to continue or not, but I don't always know where it came from. Those information gaps can be really important to acknowledge, to see, and to change if we need to change it and say, oh, that's not a fact. That's an assumption I made. That's 3. 4, slow down. When we are in situations, we feel an urgency to get to the other side, to find the solution, to fix it. It's not always as immediate of a need as we think. So you can stop, you can think, you can process, you can take some time. So slow down your problem solving because it is not needing an answer right now. It is not that fast that we come up with the solutions. And sometimes saying, okay, I'm going to think about this today. We're going to think about this tomorrow. And then we're going to think about it next day and make a decision. That helps it go so far. So far. Just take a little time. With your kids, you don't have to have every answer every moment that it happens. They ask you something, you can say, let me think about it and get back to you. Now, if you do that, you have to get back to them. You can't just stop there. You have to make sure you circle back, which sometimes we forget to do, which means you might want to ask your child to remind you again tomorrow. Let me think about that. Remind me tomorrow, or make sure you remember to tell them tomorrow. Okay, and 5, the 5th way to make sure that you put into practice that everything is figureoutable is to let go of there being one perfect answer. To remember there are lots of ways to move forward. There are lots of ways to create possibilities. There are lots of correct answers. Whether you're talking about navigating challenging behavior with your kids, or figuring out what you're going to have for dinner that night, or taking care of your own mental health, there are lots of right answers. Yet sometimes when we're trying to problem solve, we're like frantically looking for the one thing that will solve it. Life is not a math problem. Behavior is not a math problem. Relationships are not a math problem. There is not just one right answer. And when we remember there are many possibilities, when we remember that all we have to take away is the one right answer for today, I'm going to try this now, see how it works, see how it feels. If it's good, do it again. If it's not so good, come up with another answer and try that one. Play with it, experiment with it. When we think about problem solving as experimentation, it feels a lot easier than when we think about it like a math equation. Yet, unfortunately, so often we get stuck in that math equation space. Okay, there you go. 5 answers for how to figure out everything. All behavior can change. Everything is figureoutable, and you have 5 ways to do it. Ask questions, not statements. Embrace uncertainty. Look for the information gaps. Slow down and let go of the right answer. Let go of there being one right answer. So now, if you're here listening, either live or watching the recording, put down in the chat which one you're going to do. Which one are you going to start with? The next time you have a problem, you have a challenge, which one are you going to do? For me, I'm going to focus on letting go of the right answer because I like having the right answer. So that's going to be the thing that I focus on for the next week. What are you going to focus on? Just for the next 7 days, see how it feels for you. Okay, let me know. I'm curious. Wonder. Okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, for joining me, for spending your time here. 2 things. 1, if this was helpful, come back next Wednesday. Come back and join me again, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And 2, if you have a question about your kids, about behavior change for yourself, about work at your organization, those are all the topics I cover. So if you have a question, put it in the chat for me to answer in a future live, or send me a direct message. My email is linked above. So let me know. It's info@behaviorandbeyond.net. I'll make sure that you can access that, but let me know what you have questions about so I can answer your questions. Oh, and Juggles the Clown is here. Love some clowns, and they're going to slow down. And I love that. All right. Have a fabulous week. Thank you for joining me. And I'll see you next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And remember, blue skies are ahead. We're going to get there together.